It was my husband's grandmother's, and we always believed it to be from Tiffany's. And when she passed away at the age of 102, 10 years ago, we inherited this piece. I suspect that they bought it from Tiffany's around the time that it was made. That's my guess.
And it has another signature on the clasp as well, which immediately tells me we are looking at a carefully documented piece from Tiffany and Company. This is a very special jewel because most people focus first on the diamonds, yet here the true artistry lies in the pearls. The design language strongly points to Paulding Farnham, one of the firm's most influential designers, celebrated for showcasing natural pearls as the centerpiece rather than secondary accents. The drop pearl measures close to 10 millimeters, and the strand graduates upward from roughly 6.5 down to about 3.5 millimeters, each one beautifully matched with excellent luster and exceptionally clean surfaces. In gemological terms, that combination of size, uniformity, and surface quality is rare, especially among natural pearls. The surrounding old mine-cut diamonds complement rather than compete with them, reinforcing that the intention of the maker was to highlight the organic beauty of the pearls. Pieces like this represent the height of early 20th century American jewelry craftsmanship and are increasingly difficult to encounter in such preserved condition.
Now, are these old mine-cut diamonds?
Yes. In this market, if you came to me and said, what do you think we could get in an auction? We'd say $80,000 to $100,000.
No way.
Yes, yes. These little pearls, they're probably $5,000. Do not lose these. These have to go back on. I would say you're looking at an appraisal to insure and replace at $200,000.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow. I was not expecting that.
This piece I just inherited from my mother-in-law, who passed away earlier this year at 99, and she inherited the piece from her aunt and uncle, Bertha and Fred Fisher, who you may know have Fisher Auto Body, and that became part of GM. Our guess is, but we don't know, is that it could have come from New York or Detroit.
Well, it is a beautiful piece. This necklace is a pendant watch design dating to about 1910, firmly within the refined elegance of the Edwardian period, an era known for delicacy and exceptional diamond craftsmanship. It is signed by Tiffany and Company, whose early 20th century works represent the highest tier of American jewelry manufacture. The chain itself is composed of alternating collet set, old European cut diamonds, and marquise-shaped links, totaling roughly 7 carats, leading to an emerald cut diamond of about 2.5 carats that shows impressive whiteness and clarity. Suspended below is a detachable watch pendant framed in intricate filigree and fine engraving, demonstrating both technical precision and artistic refinement. Convertible jewels like this were prized for versatility, allowing the watch element to be worn separately. And at auction, the estimate would be $40,000 to $60,000.
That's unbelievable and a surprise. Thank you for giving us this very valuable information.
For insurance purposes, I would estimate the value at approximately $120,000.
From my uncle's aunt. She lived in Chicago. That's
Okay.
about all I know about it.
Well, you know a little more. You know who made it.
Yeah, it's on the bottom.
Yes, and what does it say?
Tiffany and Company.
And what else does it say?
Sterling silver and the
Okay.
letter T.
What makes this piece exceptional is not merely its silver body, but the lavish application of enamel combined with inlaid American turquoise and other native stones. A decorative program so exuberant, it initially overwhelms the eye, yet reveals increasing sophistication the longer one examines it. Turning the piece over, I find the small Globe and Tea exhibition cipher used on select works created for the world's Columbian Exposition, confirming it was made for that international showcase of design. Such fair pieces were produced in very limited numbers and often displayed technical bravura meant to impress a global audience. If it was sterling, that's what it would be worth. But with all the enameling and everything else, an auction value on this piece in today's market, which is a little conservative, I would say $50,000 to $100,000.
Oh my. You're kidding.
No, do you still think it's ugly?
Yes. Excuse me. How much?
$50,000 to $100,000.
Okay.
I brought this diamond and sapphire ring that belonged probably to my husband's grandmother, probably from the early 1900s, but I really don't have much history about it. I just think it's a really beautiful ring.
I can confidently place it in the early 20th century, most likely around 1925, based on its craftsmanship and stylistic details. The piece is signed inside the shank by Tiffany and Company, a maker renowned at the time for producing only the highest tier jewelry using exceptional gemstones and meticulous hand finishing. The center stone is a sapphire weighing approximately 3.65 carats, displaying a rich royal blue tone highly prized among collectors. Flanking it are two antique pear-shaped diamonds of about 0.75 carats each, while the gallery beneath reveals delicate milligrane and filigree work set with old European cut diamonds totaling roughly 0.65 carats. The sapphire shows slight surface wear, suggesting it could benefit from professional repolishing, yet its color remains superb. Judging from hue and internal character, my instinct suggests the stone may originate from Burma, historically famous for producing some of the world's most desirable sapphires. Confirmation would require laboratory certification, which could also determine whether the stone has been treated. At auction, this ring is in the neighborhood of $30,000 to $50,000.
Oh, my goodness, wow.
So you absolutely want to have that extra homework done.
Right,
And probably
yeah.
want to have it insured if you're going to wear it, because the insurance could be upwards of $100,000.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
My parents bought a dry cleaning business, and this brooch was in an envelope in the extra button drawer.
This brooch was made in New York around 1937, right at the tail end of the Art Deco period, when design was shifting towards softer geometry while still retaining crisp symmetry. Its circular form is especially desirable in today's market because circle pins interact beautifully with fabric and light, changing character depending on how they are worn. What truly elevates it, however, is the refined gemstone layout. Baguette-cut diamonds arranged with architectural precision, flanked on both sides by delicate rows of emeralds, an unusual and sophisticated color pairing rarely seen in mass-produced pieces. Equally important is the fact that it retains its original clasp and fittings, which collectors prize because untouched construction confirms authenticity and preserves historical integrity. Do you have any idea what it's worth?
I really don't. I have no idea. It's never been appraised, never been looked at. I have no idea.
Retail value, I think you're talking $65,000. Not bad to find in a button drawer.
No, it's not. It is not. Ooh. I can't wait to get it home.
It belonged to my great-great-grandmother. She was born in 1835.
Do you know anything about it at all?
I really don't know anything about it other than what's engraved on it.
Okay. What is quite unusual about this necklace is there's a very, very strong Japanese influence in this, something we rarely encounter in pieces attributed to Louis Comfort Tiffany. You can see it immediately in the stylized floral ornamentation and the bamboo motif running through the center. Both hallmarks of the Japanism aesthetic that swept through decorative arts between the late 19th and early 20th centuries. That artistic dialogue between East and West was explored by only a handful of elite houses, including Tiffany and Company, as well as contemporaries like Lalique and Cartier. The necklace itself is crafted in 18-karat yellow gold combined with platinum, a technically sophisticated pairing for its era, and its condition is remarkably pristine with virtually no visible wear. I would say that if you had to try and replace this necklace in a retail store, you would have to pay between $55,000 and $60,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is a silver pitcher my grandfather bought in London in 1949 through 50. My grandfather was in the military during World War II, and after the war, he was assigned to the London Embassy in the air attaché office, and in the evenings, he wanted to do a hobby. He wanted something to keep him busy, and so he took up silversmith.
The key figure to understand with this pitcher is Charles Osborne, an English-born designer who emigrated to the United States as a child and rose quickly enough to become chief designer at Whiting Manufacturing Company by age 23. After a factory fire forced the firm to relocate to New York, he met Edward C. Moore and soon joined Tiffany & Company in 1879, a turning point that transformed the company's silver style. Designs from that moment forward became strikingly organic, filled with spirals, floral devices, and sculptural curvature, all qualities visible in this vessel's flowing silhouette. The stamped maker's marks confirm Tiffany production in sterling silver, and the documented pattern number 5942 corresponds precisely to the year 1880, anchoring its date with unusual certainty. Along the lower edge appears a period engraved name, suggesting it was originally commissioned for a client, likely as a presentation water pitcher rather than table service ware. Technically, the surface reveals Osborne's signature chased purling technique, where teams of craftsmen hammered descending bead-like textures into the metal, along with distinctive hexagonal hammer marks known from his workshop vocabulary. If this were to be estimated for auction purposes, we'd suggest an estimate of $25,000 to $35,000.
Wow. Wow. That's impressive.
Now, if it's something that you're interested in having insured,
Yeah.
that insurance value would be closer to $55,000 or $60,000.
Wow. Wow.
My husband gave it to me probably in the 80s, not for an occasion. He didn't always buy a card or give a gift on occasion, but he would come home with something nice.
I can immediately identify it as a refined diamond and sapphire piece set in platinum, a metal chosen specifically to intensify the brilliance of gemstones. The diamonds display exceptional visual performance and are arranged in a sophisticated combination of cuts, including round, marquise, and baguette, a layout that creates a floral illusion across the wrist. Interspersed among them are sapphires of an ideal vivid blue tone, the saturation and balance collectors consistently seek in fine corundum. Altogether, the bracelet carries roughly 20 carats of diamonds, a substantial total weight that signals both luxury intent and high manufacturing standards. The craftsmanship and material quality point directly to Tiffany & Company, confirmed by the signature engraved on the reverse of the clasp. Stylistically, the design aligns with the Maison's mid-20th century production, and I would place its manufacture around the 1960s, a period when the firm specialized in bold yet elegant gemstone compositions. I would expect that this bracelet would bring probably between $40,000 and $50,000 at auction.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful. Awesome. Back in the lockbox.
You should wear it. Enjoy it.
I wear it on special occasions.
Mm-hmm.
I know that it's a Tiffany silver vase. My grandmother took it as collateral on a loan, and the lady couldn't repay the loan, and so it came into my family, and I've inherited it.
How much was the loan for, if you don't mind my asking?
I believe it was either $300 or $500 back in the 50s.
The first confirmation of its significance lies in the base mark of Tiffany and Company, which immediately places it within the lineage of one of the most technically accomplished silver workshops of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Although its sculptural language draws from Renaissance Revival taste, the capital letter date code reveals a production window between 1902 and 1907 rather than the 1860s, showing how historicist design persisted into the new century. The surface is richly modeled with herm figures, both male and female, framed by winged forms and densely composed ornament, all cast with unusually tight definition that indicates a limited production or special commission rather than a routine catalog piece. A serial number stamped underneath functions as an archival key that could potentially identify the original designer if matched with surviving factory records. Traces of darkened tone within recesses are not mere tarnish, but remnants of intentional patination applied at the workshop to heighten sculptural depth, a finishing technique often misunderstood and mistakenly polished away. I can guess that you think it's worth a little bit more than the $300 or $500 that your mother
I'm hoping
had to
that
pay
that's
for.
true,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, at auction, I would think that this is worth in the $30,000 to $50,000 range.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
That's a heck of a vase.
Thank you.
I brought you my Rolex watch, which was given to me as a gift from my uncle back in 1975. He purchased it at Tiffany's in New York. He was a physician who had relocated to the Netherlands from New York, probably in the mid-60s. And right before I was going to go to college, he noticed that I wasn't wearing a watch on my wrist. So he literally took it off of his wrist, gave it to me, and that's how I've acquired it.
This watch is a Rolex GMT Master, produced around 1963 to 1964, one of the early generations of the model that established Rolex's reputation for dual time zone tool watches. Examining it closely, I can see it retains an early gilt dial, identifiable by its glossy black surface and gold tone printing, along with a subtle underline beneath the lower text, a detail specialists call an underline dial and associate with short transitional production periods. What makes this example especially notable is the co-branded signature on the dial bearing both Rolex and Tiffany names, indicating it was retailed through Tiffany & Co. In New York at a time when the jeweler was authorized to place its name directly on Rolex dials, a practice discontinued decades ago. The faded bezel insert and oxidation visible on the dial are not flaws from a collector's standpoint, but evidence of originality, since replacement parts would erase these period-correct characteristics. Rolex's historical policy of swapping components during servicing explains why so few early pieces survive in untouched condition. They want the original dial, even with the oxidation on it. Even the faded bezel is very collectible. Today, in the retail market, your watch is worth $50,000.
Oh, good grief. That is absolutely stunning to me. I mean, I think the highest I ever heard was $30,000, which I thought was crazy and outrageous. But The fact that it's worth $50,000 is startling to me.
If the dial had no oxidation on it, and it was really a mint dial, this is a $100,000 watch in today's market.
My great-grandfather and great-grandmother got married, and they went on their honeymoon to New York. And while on their honeymoon, they went to the opera. My great-grandmother admired this piece on one of the singers. And my great-grandfather went after the show and talked to the Tiffany jewelers and arranged to buy this piece for my great-grandmother.
As you noted, the necklace dates to around the mid-1870s, and stylistically, it is a superb example of the archaeological revival aesthetic that dominated high jewelry in that era. The graduated panels, intricate twisted wirework, and delicate bead motifs reflect a design language inspired by ancient Mediterranean ornament, a trend widely circulating through Italy and continental Europe at the time. This influence was reinforced internationally during exhibitions such as the Great Fair held in Philadelphia in 1876, where such revivalist jewels were prominently displayed and widely admired. Equally important is the emerging aesthetic movement influence seen in the panel arrangement, which resembles stylized folding screens and reveals a fascination with Japanese art then shaping Western decorative taste. The alternating patinated surfaces add depth and dimensional contrast, demonstrating sophisticated workshop technique. On the reverse, the presence of a small hook indicates the necklace originally supported a detachable pendant or locket, a feature typical of versatile 19th century perriers. Pieces from this transitional manufacturing phase, when the firm shifted from retailing to actively designing its own jewels, are especially prized. I'm not really sure of that terminology in today's marketplace, but this is a wonderful piece, and I would expect that you would find this piece in a high-end store somewhere in the $40,000 to $50,000 range in today's market.
I don't think I'll be wearing it to any PTA meetings. Thank you.
I don't know how it came into the family, but I know it's been used by 4 generations of women in my family, dating back to my great-grandmother, late 1890s probably. And it's a lovely necklace and pendant that can be changed into a brooch.
Now let's talk about the pendant first. The centerpiece immediately establishes its importance. Set with 2 prominent old mine-cut diamonds of roughly 1 carat each, surrounded by an additional 2 carats of diamonds mounted in platinum, a metal choice strongly associated with early 20th century high jewelry. When I turn the pendant over, the evidence becomes decisive. It is signed not once but twice by Tiffany and Company, confirming both authorship and that the detachable elements were conceived as a unified suite rather than assembled later. The chain itself reinforces this conclusion, designed with alternating diamond stations culminating in a marquise stone that visually guides the eye downward into the pendant, compositional technique favored in refined pieces of about 1920. Mechanically, the jewel is just as impressive as it is visually, incorporating a spring-loaded lanyard mechanism and a screw fitting that allows the pendant to convert into a brooch, demonstrating the era's fascination with transformable jewelry engineered for formal evenings at venues such as Heinz Hall in Pittsburgh. The companion piece in the suite is unsigned, yet its craftsmanship clearly indicates a skilled workshop hand, which was not unusual at the time since not all fine pieces bore marks. At auction, this would bring $30,000 to $40,000.
Wow.
That's a lot of money.
Yes, it is.
This is Tiffany. It carries the bulk of the pricing, but it's just absolutely stunning.
I think so as well.
My grandmother, when she passed away, left me all of her jewelry. I'm the only grandchild in the family, and she was quite a gal, and this was probably one of the most beautiful things that she left me.
And she was a model in New York?
She grew up in a farm in Weston, Connecticut, and then she went into New York, and at first she was a model for Stein and Blaine.
As I examine the ring, I can tell you right away it is made by Tiffany and Company. The design tells me it comes from the Art Deco period, most likely around the 1920s. The mounting is platinum, which was the preferred metal for fine jewelry of that era because it allowed jewelers to create very precise and durable settings. The center stone is what we call a Ceylon star sapphire, meaning it originated from Sri Lanka. It weighs roughly 25 carats, which is considered very large for this type of gem. When light hits the surface, you can see a six-pointed star effect known scientifically as asterism, and the sharpness of that star is a key indicator of quality. Around the mounting, there are diamonds, and interestingly, some are set underneath where you cannot see them from the top, a refined design detail commonly used in high jewelry during that period. All of these characteristics together confirm that this is a classic, high-end Tiffany Art Deco sapphire ring. All these things are pluses for it. A ring like that in today's market could easily be sold for somewhere in retail and $25,000 to $35,000.
Oh, that's wonderful. My children would be happy to know that.
What else did you inherit from them?
Well, I brought this bracelet and the necklace that I have on.
Now, I don't want to scare you, but when I saw the bracelet and when I saw the necklace, I'm going to tell you, my father was a jeweler in 1927.
I'm getting scared.
Okay?
Well, I brought a pin in that is stamped Tiffany, and it is full of diamonds, and I believe it's platinum. I purchased it about 30 years ago, and I tucked it away and brought it out yesterday.
The first thing I confirm is the crisp hallmark, identifying it as a creation of Tiffany & Co., immediately placing it within the highest tier of American jewelry manufacture. Stylistically, this is a quintessential Art Deco jewel, and what captivates me most is not simply the abundance of diamonds, but the refined geometry of its Art Moderne lines, which give the piece a sculptural presence despite its small scale. At the center sits a European-cut diamond, surrounded by an array of complementary stones, including French cuts, baguettes, and round brilliants, all meticulously arranged within a platinum mount that enhances both brilliance and structural precision. The craftsmanship reflects the interwar period's fascination with symmetry, light, and architectural form. And the condition is remarkable, considering it spent decades tucked away from light and wear. If you were to go to a high-end retail store today, you could look at $25,000 to $30,000 for this piece.
Okay.
So your $3,000 investment
Well, that's not
was
too
money
bad.
well spent.
Yeah, no, I think so too. It's awesome. I am happy that I purchased it, and I appreciate the craftsmanship in it. So I guess I'll have to wear it from now on.
You should.
This was gifted to me by a woman that was in my church. She became very ill and had no family or anything, and we sort of took her into our family and took care of her, and she insisted that I take this piece as a gift. It's from the William Becker family.
So it's 18 karat yellow gold, and at the center sits a vivid green peridot of about 8 carats, surrounded by a lively arrangement of diamonds in mixed hues, including white, yellow, and champagne tones. A palette that harmonizes beautifully with the warm gold setting. When I turn it over, the reverse is just as striking, revealing intricate hand-formed canotile-style wirework, a level of craftsmanship typical of fine American jewelry from the late 19th to early 20th century. The design language, construction methods, and hallmark all point to a date around 1910. The tag indicating Tiffany & Company suggests retail through their New York operation, and stylistically, the piece aligns strongly with work attributed to Louis Comfort Tiffany, whose independently produced art jewelry was sometimes sold through the firm. While scholars may debate attribution without archival confirmation, the artistry, handmade chain links, and sculptural composition clearly place it within that elite design tradition. I would say that this would auction for $20,000 to $30,000.
Holy moly. I don't believe it. Oh my gosh. That's, what a gift, huh?
A very nice gift.
Whoa. I might have to keep this for myself for a while now.
Yeah,
And wear it again.
you need to start wearing it.
I believe it was my grandmother's. I don't remember my mother ever wearing it. I have worn it very occasionally.
The total diamond weight is approximately 2.5 carats, set within graceful ribbon motifs characteristic of the Belle Epoque aesthetic, a design language known for fluid lines and ornamental elegance. The added safety chain indicates later practical modification, likely to prevent loss after the clasp proved unreliable, a common adjustment seen on heirloom jewelry. At the top, I can discern a faint but decisive hallmark reading Tiffany & Co., confirming that the piece originates from one of the premier American jewelers renowned for exceptional materials and craftsmanship. Without that signature, a brooch of this type might fall into a modest auction bracket. If this was in a retail shop, we found some that are selling closer to $20,000 to $30,000.
Ooh. That's a little shattering. It's a family piece. It's probably not going anywhere. That may be back in the safety deposit box.
That is my Tiffany tray. I bought it many years ago. I admire Tiffany things, and so anytime I would see something Tiffany that I could afford, I would buy it. So I've had this tray since the mid-'70s. I bought it at an antique show that traveled to Atlanta every year. I think I paid $95. My husband thought I paid too much for it.
Okay. The first thing I note when examining this tray is that it is an exceptionally unusual mixed metal work retailed by Tiffany and Company, and the impressed marks on the reverse correspond to the year 1878, placing it squarely within the aesthetic movement era. The body is primarily copper, yet it is enriched with applied ornament in silver and gold, demonstrating the firm's fascination with Japanese-inspired design that swept Western decorative arts after trade opened with Japan under Commodore Perry in the mid-19th century. Its sculptural gourd form, curling tendril handle, and asymmetrical composition are hallmarks of the Japanisme aesthetic, while the surface decoration elevates it further. A dragonfly with high-carat gold wings, silver vines and leaves, and most notably a gourd element fashioned in mokume, a laminated metal technique created by repeatedly bonding layers of contrasting alloys to produce a wood grain pattern. That feature alone places the tray in a rare category because such technical virtuosity was seldom used on functional wares. Although the copper ground shows some uneven coloration from age and oxidation, the surviving original tone visible on protected areas confirms how rich its appearance once was. As a mixed metal tray, silver on copper, if it didn't have the gold, you probably would be talking a few $1,000s, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. The addition of the gold pumps it up to maybe $8,000 to $10,000. But when you add this mokume to it, that doubles that, and you're looking at more like $20,000 to $25,000 at auction.
Well, very interesting. Okay, I'm pretty excited about that. Mine $90.
It's a family piece, and I don't know much about it other than it came down through a cousin to my grandmother, then to my parents, and then to me.
So this is a pansy brooch. This is a pansy brooch composed of 3 blossoms rather than the single flower most commonly encountered, which already makes it a more elaborate example. The enamel work is especially striking, with vivid coloration that has survived remarkably well for more than a century, indicating high-quality firing and craftsmanship. At the center of each pansy sits an old European cut diamond, the dominant diamond cut of that era. And notably, each stone is about 1/4 carat, significantly larger than the small accent stones typically seen in similar brooches. One diamond is mounted loosely, so it moves within the petal, a charming design detail historically nicknamed dewdrops. After close inspection, I located a concealed signature along the textured stem, consistent with pieces associated with Louis Comfort Tiffany and the production or retail practices of Tiffany Studios, which both designed and retailed luxury jewelry of this caliber. This has much larger diamonds of much finer quality, and that Tiffany thing takes us the extra mile. I would suspect that in a retail situation, you could easily get $15,000 to $20,000 for this.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Thank you so much.
Thanks for bringing it in. Great
Yeah.
looking piece.
As a young person, I was given an old scarab, an Egyptian scarab, and so I'd always been fascinated with those. And so about 15, 20 years ago, I went to an antique show, and I saw this, and I thought, it reminded me of a piece of jewelry my mother had that had Brazilian butterfly wings, and I thought, oh, that's the color. And then I got to looking, and I thought, I think this is Tiffany. And so I bought it.
And what did you pay for it? Let's talk about the scarabs first. In ancient symbolism, the scarab beetle represented rebirth, regeneration, and life, a sacred emblem in Egypt that later inspired jewelers seeking exotic revival motifs. This necklace is unmistakably the work of Tiffany & Company, executed in luminous Favril glass, a material pioneered under the artistic direction of Louis Comfort Tiffany and celebrated for its iridescent depth. The chain, crafted in 18-karat gold, alternates short and elongated links, a structural rhythm consistent with design trends of the mid-1910s, placing its manufacture around 1915. On the underside of the central pendant appears the correct period hallmark, confirming authenticity and workshop origin. Stylistically, the piece reflects the early 20th century fascination with Egyptological imagery, combined with American Art Nouveau craftsmanship, where natural forms and symbolic creatures were rendered with painterly color and sculptural delicacy. It's a beautiful piece. And at a good retail store, this piece would sell for $8,000 to $10,000.
Did all right.
I'd say so.
Oh my goodness.
As far as I know, it's a carriage clock. My uncle bought it in around 1956, 58 in Sturbridge, Mass. At an antique shop.
It's designed to be portable. This clock was made by Tiffany Makers, the specialized manufacturing division of Tiffany & Company in New York City, created after Charles Tiffany shifted the firm from primarily retailing European luxury goods to producing refined objects of its own. When I examined the movement and matched the internal serial number with archival production ledgers preserved at the New York Historical Society, the documentation confirms that this exact clock was completed on March 29, 1889 under Master Horologist Joseph Lindauer. That record also reveals how scarce such examples are, since the workshop made only 829 clocks in total, and just 91 of them were carriage models like this one, originally intended for affluent travelers who wanted both portability and prestige. Technically, it is an exceptionally sophisticated mechanism featuring alarm, repeat, and grand sonnery functions that strike hours and quarter hours on multiple gongs, a level of complication rarely encountered in American clocks of the period. The case itself reinforces that sense of luxury, formed in fire, gilded brass, with elegant spiral columns and precise proportions, demonstrating the fusion of engineering mastery and decorative design that defined Tiffany's finest late 19th century timepieces. This clock probably has a value in the retail marketplace, along with its case, of in the $10,000 price range.
You're kidding me. Oh my God. Holy cow, I guess it was worth carrying around all day.
Not only a workout, but worth the value.
Wow. Holy cow. Never dreamed that. Never.
I received it as a gift from one of my relatives after my mother passed. It wasn't hers, it was just something given to me by one of my other relatives.
I can see this is a perfume flask of exceptional quality, modeled as a stylized ceremonial guard reminiscent of a European palace sentinel. The figure is crafted in 18-karat gold and richly set with emeralds, sapphires, diamonds, and a ruby star, with additional diamonds accenting the headdress. Unscrewing the head reveals a delicate dipper, confirming its function as a luxury scent applicator intended for a dressing table or elegant evening use. The presentation box and base are signed by Tiffany & Company and Jean Schlumberger, securely attributing it to that celebrated designer's workshop. Schlumberger was famed for turning imaginative forms into jeweled sculpture, and the lavish gem setting here marks this as one of the finer variants. Based on materials, workmanship, and style, I would date it to the 1960s, when such artistic luxury objects were highly prized by collectors. And at auction, if this item were to be auctioned, I would put a pre-sale estimate on this of between $8,000 and $10,000.
Seriously?
Yes, yes, they're highly collectible.
Thank you so very much. I had no idea. And yes, I'm going to really thank my relative who gave it to me.
You should.
Well, they're two silver hare's head stirrup cups. If you pick them up and hold them by the ears, as it were, they are a cup. You can drink out of them. They were designed to be passed around at a hunt meet and allow the mounted followers to have a bit of brandy or port before the hounds moved off.
It looks like a pretty big shot to take just before you go out.
I suspect they were designed to be passed from person to person and not a single person.
I can confirm they are a striking pair of silver hare's head stirrup cups produced by Tiffany & Company, designed in the traditional hunting style, meant to be lifted by the ears and passed among riders before the hounds set off. The hallmarks provide a precise reading of their origin and quality. Alongside the maker's T and Co stamp appears a date letter and the leopard's head assay symbol of London, as well as the lion passant indicating sterling standard silver, a guarantee of metal purity used in British assay practice. Although stylistically they evoke 18th century sporting culture, the marks date these particular examples to 1983 and 1988, demonstrating how historic forms are often revived for modern luxury markets. In researching comparative models, I found closely related black basalt versions produced in 1780 by Wedgwood and Bentley, confirming that this sculptural animal head format has deep design roots. I think you did well, because in today's market, for insurance, I would insure these at $9,000 for the pair.
Okay. Thank you.
They are so cute. You almost want to bite their heads off, if they weren't just heads anyway.
That's right.
So.
This is my grandmother's ring, and she gave it to me in her will when she passed, and I don't know anything about it other than it's got a really big blue stone that I think is a lapis lazuli, so I wore it on my wedding day as my something blue. She was born around 1919, I think, and she worked on the New York Stock Exchange in the 1940s, and her mother-in-law was someone who worked with diamonds in New York City.
This ring before me is an Art Deco creation dating to about 1925, crafted in platinum and bearing a partially worn maker's mark that, under magnification, clearly reads Y & Co., identifying it as a piece by Tiffany & Company of New York. The design language is characteristic of the period, with strong geometry and contrasting stones arranged for visual drama. At its center sits a striking sugar loaf cabochon lapis lazuli, cut high and smooth in a style favored during the 1920s for its sculptural presence and saturated ultramarine tone. Flanking it are chrysoprase accents, a gemstone often mistaken for jade but widely used in Art Deco jewelry precisely for its vivid green contrast against darker stones. Tiny rose-cut diamonds are set as delicate highlights, their antique faceting producing a soft rather than brilliant sparkle. The mounting itself reflects refined early 20th century workmanship, and the surviving inscription confirms elite manufacture. Do you have any idea on the value?
I thought it was platinum, and I thought the diamonds might be real, so I thought maybe a few thousand. But
yeah, well, it's well worth that. I would say $5,000 to $7,000 auction estimate.
Wow.
So for insurance, it would be right around $8,000.
Wow.
This is a necklace that was a gift that my grandfather gave to my grandmother, probably late 40s, early 50s.
The gem pairing is especially telling because moonstone with sapphire was a favored aesthetic combination historically associated with the design philosophy of Louis Comfort Tiffany, whose work emphasized luminous color, harmony, and soft optical effects. Although this example dates later and is not one of his personal designs, the stylistic language clearly pays tribute to that tradition. The maker's mark reveals it was produced by Tiffany and Company, a firm renowned for translating artistic movements into fine jewelry with strong craftsmanship standards. Structurally, the piece is versatile because the central ornament detaches and can be worn as a brooch, an intentional dual-function feature popular in refined jewelry of that era.
And you can detach that from the necklace and wear it as a brooch.
From an auction standpoint, a necklace like this would have an auction estimate of $5,000 to $7,000.
Oh my goodness.
It's a flask that my father found in the basement of my grandparents' house when they cleaned it out. The monkeys kind of look like they're messing around on the front of it, which is kind of fun because I think it's Victorian era, which was probably unusual.
So we know it's Tiffany, and of course the bottom is marked. It says 6374M8079. What immediately establishes the importance of this flask is its clear association with Tiffany and Company, confirmed by the marked base that includes capacity, sterling designation, and a coded date stamp identifying production in 1881. The letter mark points directly to Edward Moore, the firm's influential design director whose work after the 1870s introduced global stylistic vocabulary into American silver. The lively monkey scene in relief exemplifies that shift, reflecting the Japanisme aesthetic that entered American decorative arts after international exhibitions of the late 19th century. Its generous 5.5 gill capacity, roughly 650 milliliters, places it among unusually large flasks, suggesting ceremonial or club use rather than casual personal carry. The engraved dedication links it to the Country Club, the historic sporting institution in Brookline, and names Pierre Lorillard Jr., honoring champion marksman Thomas Thorne, anchoring the object within elite sporting culture of the period. Without looking at the inscription, as a Tiffany piece, I'm going to tell you between $4,000 and $6,000.
Okay.
The inscription would add probably another $1,000, and so you'd be at the $5,000 to $7,000 range. But given the rarity of the monkeys, the scene, it certainly could do a lot more. So it's a wonderful piece, and I'm glad you brought it in.
I'm glad I brought it in too.
This is what has been known in our family as the Tiffany pitcher. It was presented to my great-great-grandfather back in the 1850s. At the time, he was a mate on a riverboat called the Nominee. They had a charter boat from New York citizens on the boat. One of the children fell overboard, and my great-great-grandfather jumped in and saved him. The passengers then created a reward for him, which he refused to take. When they got back to New York, they took the money and went to Tiffany's and had this picture cast for him.
What makes this presentation picture remarkable is its documented origin and narrative power, firmly linking it to Tiffany and Company during the firm's rapid expansion in the 1850s. The repoussé chase decoration across its surface is not merely ornamental but commemorative, illustrating the dramatic rescue of a child from the water, while the opposite side depicts the steamboat with its name engraved on the wheel, a rare instance where maritime history and Victorian storytelling merge in silver. Such figural narrative scenes were technically demanding and required highly skilled chasing, indicating workshop-level craftsmanship typical of Tiffany-affiliated production in that decade. Although the underside mark is obscured by later lead filling on the base, the extensive documentation and period photograph confirming its presentation in New York provide convincing authentication, and in mid-19th century practice, it was common for Tiffany to retail pieces made by contracted silversmiths, yet stamped with their brand. Collectors value examples like this not only as early American silver, but also as historical presentation objects tied to real events. I would estimate it for auction probably in the $4,000 to $5,000 range. I think to have the lead removed, to have a good hand polish on the silver, don't let them buff it by any means, but have a good hand polish, and to have the dents raised up out of the base would cost less than $500. And I would push that estimate up to about $5,000 to $7,000, perhaps even as much as $8,000.
Wonderful. Thank you.
It's a carriage clock, I believe. It's made by Tiffany, and that's about all I know about it.
Okay.
We acquired it from a house sale in Denver, Colorado. I was a collector of antique woodworking tools, went over to find out a woodworking tool, found out their tool wasn't very good, but I saw this clock, and we like all good antiques and thought it was worth more than we paid for it.
It is a classic carriage clock, the earliest form of portable timekeeper designed for travel, and the dial signature immediately identifies it as retailed by Tiffany and Company. The form itself originated in 19th century France workshops, where many of the finest movements were produced and later imported by luxury retailers. So although Tiffany's name appears on the dial, the mechanism and case construction are unmistakably French in origin. Housed in its original leather carrying case, the clock retains a highly desirable feature, a repeat button integrated into the exterior that strikes the last hour on demand, allowing the time to be read in darkness, a sophisticated complication for a travel clock. The twin winding arbors at the back confirm a time and strike movement, while decorative details such as the fluted front columns, recessed dial, pierced filigree center, and engraved garland dial mat elevated above standard examples. The engraved monogram and date of 1892 further anchor it historically, suggesting either manufacture or presentation at that time.
About 30 years ago.
Well, it would be worth a bit more than that today. I would say that in a retail clock shop, this clock would sell for about $4,000.
Well, that's nice. Profit.
It would probably be $500 to $1,000 less without the carrying case.
Brought a box with some liquor bottles inside, as far as I know, that my mother got in the early 60s from an antique dealer, and I believe he got it on the East Coast, Connecticut, I believe. And it belonged to Samuel Colt's brother-in-law. His name was Richard William Hart Jarvis. He was president of the Colt Firearms Company from about 1865 to 1903. I guess that was the longest period anyone was president. But yeah, Samuel Colt was married to his sister.
The first thing I examine is the lid inscription, because those initials immediately anchor the provenance. And here they correspond to Richard William Hart Jarvis, longtime president of Colt Firearms Company and brother-in-law of Samuel Colt. Opening the case reveals a fitted set of sharply cut crystal decanters whose crisp edges confirm they are true cut glass rather than pressed, indicating higher craftsmanship, though the glass itself is secondary to the container. What truly defines the object is the fitted presentation box bearing the label of Tiffany and Company at Union Square, a mark that securely places its retail origin in the late 19th century, consistent with the circa 1880 character suggested by the glass style. The box is crafted from richly figured burl wood mounted with bronze fittings rather than brass, a costlier choice that signals luxury intent and elite clientele. Historically, Tiffany often retailed fine goods made by specialized artisans rather than manufacturing every component themselves. And this ensemble fits that pattern precisely.
Right.
So if it was Samuel Colt's piece, I might bump it up a little bit more to $5,000 to $8,000 at auction.
So
But as the brother-in-law, I'm still in the $3,000 to $5,000 range.
I think my mother paid $500 or $550 in the early 60s for it.
So you did pretty well.
I think that's great. Thanks, Mom.
Well, my grandparents got it at an auction probably in the 60s. It was in my house growing up, and I always admired it, and so my mom gave it to me a few years ago. I know that my grandfather, my mom thinks he paid $500 for it at an auction, and that my grandmother was not pleased. She thought that was too much.
Too much money.
Yes.
Its sculptural form immediately stands out as a stylized giant clamshell, complete with deeply fluted ridges that echo the natural structure of a mature mollusk. Opening it reveals the interior marks that guide our attribution and dating. The stamp reads Tiffany Sterling, Mexico, along with a regional hallmark indicating manufacture in Taxco, the famed center of Mexican silver work. This tells me it was produced during the mid to late 1960s when Tiffany capitalized on the surge in popularity of Mexican sterling by commissioning skilled regional artisans. One of the most celebrated figures in that movement was William Spratling, whose success helped elevate Taxco silver internationally. The elegant gold-washed interior would originally have covered the entire surface, adding contrast and luxury. The design also recalls work associated with Jenna Thomas, a decorator active in Tiffany's Mexican production workshops during that era. It doesn't really matter with the shell because it says Tiffany on the inside.
Right.
So your grandfather paid about $500 for it in the 1960s.
Yes.
I think in an auction setting, we're looking at about $3,000 to $5,000.
Okay. Thank you.